This is the last lesson of this week for week 6, and we're talking now about how our unmet needs lead to unhealthy behaviors. So, how do you know what behaviors are connected to your unmet needs? This video shouldn't take us too long because I think that this stuff makes sense. So, we know that there are issues where you're trying to get your needs met if your eating patterns are restricted or overeating. So one of the things I discovered when I was doing this work for myself is that I was always afraid as a kid. And when we ate as a family, gluttony was encouraged. And I wasn't gluttonous. I was trying to be careful and listen to my body and not harm myself because I believed that the reason that my mom was so painfully damaging toward me was because she hated her fat self. Honestly, that's what I thought as a kid. So I tried really hard. I didn't want to be like her. So I'm restricted. I was anorexic from the time I was 12 until I was 20. I stopped when I was 20 because I got very, very ill with a serious infection that I realized would kill me if I didn't stop. But that I realized was me trying to calm fear by using food in specific ways. We also can restrict when we feel angry. So any range, if you have issues around food, the idea is to look at what feelings you're having in your body besides the feeling of connection to your food and your level of satiety. Are you afraid? Are you feeling lonely? Are you sad? Pay attention to that and see which one of your needs, if you go back to this hierarchy of needs, higher up on the pyramid, is connected to these eating behaviors. Also, hoarding food and food gifts. So one of the things that happened to me when I was a kid is that I was the one who was in charge in the kitchen. I didn't want to be. I didn't do it by choice. But for example, on Saturday mornings, I would be the one who would be asked to make pancakes for everybody. So I'd make pancakes for everyone, and everyone would have seconds before I got to eat. And the truth is, it brought a sense of love and belonging to me because that was a time that I was praised and treated well, even though I didn't get to eat till everybody else had. But some value came to me. I started to value myself based on how I could prepare food for other people. So that's where food gifts fits in. And people who have difficulties with restrictive eating or overeating, if you find yourself feeling really good about giving food to other people, it may be more than what you think it is about just being nurturing with food gifts. So take a look at it, look at the rest of the pyramid, and identify what you're trying to get met by giving food away. And are you really meeting that need? Okay, next one, shelter. So when our shelter needs are not met, it means that we could be allowing ourselves to have chaos in our own home that matched maybe chaos in the home that we grew up in. Or if we can't find a sense of relaxation at home. Or in the opposite direction, if we're compulsive about cleaning or resistance to change. Somebody comes in your house and moves a chair from one place to another place. Does it bug you until you're able to put the chair back where it belongs? That could be connected to you trying to create a sense of safety for yourself, but it's coming across as a compulsive behavior, and it's probably making you feel stuck, not more free. The final one is too much tolerance for physical discomfort. So one of the ways that we really struggle as adults who had childhood trauma is that we learn to suffer silently. So look at anything in your home, anything that's happening in your home, any issues with your shelter that are less than what you should be putting up with, and look at your level of comfort with it. How comfortable are you with level of chaos in your home? If you're overly comfortable, it could be that there's something there that you need to be looking at, where trying to get your needs met. Say you were a child who was in a chaotic environment and you didn't feel safe, so you cleaned all the time. Or maybe you were the one who was supposed to clean up, so you didn't feel safe if you were cleaning, so now you don't clean, right? So look at how that could be connected. Now, the thing that I want you to understand is that you don't have to address everything all at once. When we get to the part where you're really looking at and healing triggers, this exploration will be a guide. So even if you want to, if you wanted to, because you have lifetime access to this course anyway, you could wait till we get to the triggered part of this program and then go, okay, wait, what is it connected to? And then come back here and listen to these videos to help you remember or connect the feelings that are happening in your body to the unmet needs that you have from childhood. Finally, physical safety. I don't know why I said finally, because we're just low in the pyramid still. If you had difficulty with physical safety in your childhood, then you're going to have problems setting boundaries as an adult. Potentially, you could find yourself not taking care of your physical self because you're thinking about danger. So if you're worried about physical safety, you're less worried about whether or not your skin is dry and you need to put lotion on it, whether or not you took a shower today. If you were overworked in a way that threatened your physical safety, are you a person who now runs on fumes and overworks yourself and does way more than you're asked to do? What is the need you're trying to get? Are you worried and threatened? Do you feel that you won't have a sense of belonging unless you overextend yourself the way you did in childhood? Also, another thing that we do compulsively is ignore physical illnesses. Keep pushing through and not giving ourselves the opportunity for rest. Or we, as I spoke to you about before, attract abusive partners and accept their behavior. One of the things that happens in abusive relationships is that we sort of shut ourselves down a little bit in a way that doesn't allow us to see openly what's happening to us. I'm hoping that this conversation can help you look more closely at that, if that's the case for you. The next is emotional safety. So habits that we develop connected to emotional safety are habits that are harder to see. Negative self-talk, difficulty setting emotional boundaries. So what are emotional boundaries? That's not over-talking. That's saying no and meaning it. That's saying yes to things that we should say yes to that really meet our needs. We also might have emotionally abusive relationships where those same patterns from childhood are matching what's happening now. Self-doubt, caregiving, meaning taking care of other people's needs before your own, not stating your own needs or feeling unworthy. All of this comes from the sort of insidious under the radar impact of shame, blame, guilt that happens in families where emotional safety is being threatened. So these could be habits that you have because your emotional safety was threatened. I want to go back for a second to physical safety. And I shared with you that until I was about 30, I had a fascination with harming myself. And I really think that for me, children play out and reenact trauma. And I think that my fascination with making myself bleed was connected with me having control over hurting myself. That's where it came from. When I finally figured that out, I was able to help stop it when I was 30. It took a long time because nobody taught me these things. I was sort of figuring it out and separating the parts one at a time for myself. You don't have to do that. You should be able to get this much more quickly than I do. So a sense of belonging is giving yourself a way to try to fit in. If you didn't have a sense of belonging, and this is true also in abusive relationships, you had strategies that you used as a child to make you feel like you were good enough for a sense of belonging with the people who are hurting you, those same behaviors can show up now because you're still looking for a sense of belonging because the need is not being met. Or if you're in safe relationship, then those same behaviors can show up as things that look really out of proportion inside the context of your safe relationship. The other thing, sense of belonging, is gift giving. I had a friend, before I became a therapist, I worked in a laboratory, and I had a friend who was a gift giver. She gave gifts at birthdays. So every year at my birthday, she gave a gift. But I was in an abusive relationship where I couldn't spend money. So even buying a friend a birthday gift was not okay for me. So one year, she gave me a beautiful gift for my birthday. And I told her, thank you so much. I appreciate that you gave me the gift, but I cannot return these kind of gifts to you. I'm not able to do it. So could you please stop giving me these gifts? I lost her friendship. She stopped, she got upset and we never spoke again. And I know that's connected to her gift giving was something old for her, where her need for belonging got met that way. They weren't truly gifts. They were somehow that she was compensating for her sense of not being okay. So that's an example of things we can do when our sense of belonging is threatened. Then, when we have these kind of habits, we will accept love that leaves us with unmet needs. And that's where we actually can fall into the myth of compromise. So what is the myth of compromise? People say you have to compromise in relationship, right? Well, here's the truth. Compromise in relationship is more about what I said in the last lesson, where I go, oh, wait a minute, no, I don't want you to feel unheard, so I'm going to work harder at listening to you. And I didn't tell the other half of the story. So when he has had me not feel like I'm not listening, and I get real distractible. So sometimes he'll say, honey, this is the thing over there. Go over there to that thing. And it takes me a minute to register and to process the information and then to go there. So if my response time isn't as fast as he thinks that it should be for somebody who's listening to them, his tone changes and he'll go, honey, I told you. And then that upsets me. So when we're in this compromise, I've said, I don't like that tone. That's not okay for me. I need you to be more patient. And instead of assuming that I'm not listening, I want you to assume that I don't see it. Or I want you to ask me if there's something more you can do to help me doing the thing that you're asking me to do. Because it really upsets me when you use that tone of voice when you think I'm not listening. So the compromise was he slows down to make space for whatever my process is when he asks for something. And I actually listen. So now we're both making a compromise that makes sure that we meet each other's needs. The myth of compromise that is unhealthy is when one person believes they have to compromise their own needs to make the relationship work. That's the thing I want you to not do. That is a trauma habit that has to shift if you want to develop safety in relationship, and if you want to develop a relationship where your needs consistently get met by someone who's not like the people who harmed you in the first place. So those are behaviors. This is your homework. I want you to kind of look with a sense of self-compassion. Every one of your behaviors that you do that you don't like makes sense. It comes from something real, and it's not your fault. This is an outcome of your very best effort to deal with ridiculously difficult situations. Then, after you look at those things, I want you to identify a behavior that comes from this list and go, maybe I want to look at one. You got to just choose one. Maybe the one that causes the most pain as the behavior you're going to focus on when we start digging into triggers. so that we can start to heal these. So that's your homework. I will see you next week. Of course, ask questions in the community, and I will look forward to seeing you there. Next week, we will start this process of the 6 steps to eliminate triggers. This is a repeatable, reliable process that I've used over and over again to heal my own triggers, that I've taught other people like you, that they've successfully used to heal, to eliminate, completely remove their trigger responses to things that are scary, that threatened their needs in the past, so they can create the life that they want. So I'm excited about that, and I will see you next week, and of course in the community.